Be doing is we're going to be taking a look at Edison's best invention. We're not going to read the entire text, but we are going to read a certain section of the text just so you guys can kind of get a feel for how argumentative text is written, as well as how to identify facts and opinions in argumentative text. So looking at this cover, one thing that I noticed is that there's a light bulb. So I'm wondering whether or not Thomas Edison has something to do with inventing the light bulb. I know that he's an inventor because, of course, it says invention. And then the fact it said that he has his best invention means that he invented more than one thing. So moving on to the next page, I look at my text features. I'm looking at these pictures, and again, I see that light bulb again. And then I'm not really sure what these two items are, but I'm sure as I continue to read, I will learn what they are. But they must be one of or some of his other inventions. So let's look at this first line. This first line is actually written in a different text than the rest, which tells me that this is the heading, right? Remember when we look at text features, text that kind of stands out to you, it's important because it helps us to understand the author's main idea. So let's look. It says Thomas Edison was America's greatest inventor. So I want you to think about that line. What do you think is the author's opinion of Thomas Edison based on just that heading? Correct. The author believes that Thomas Edison is the greatest inventor, and he says it very plainly that he's the greatest inventor. And so we're going to read to determine why this particular author believed that Thomas Edison was America's greatest inventor. So let's look at paragraph 1. A true visionary, he invented so many things that we could argue about which one is his best invention. Some of Edison's most popular inventions are the kinetograph, the phonograph, and the light bulb, but in my opinion, Edison's best invention is the light bulb. So I'm going to freeze right there. Right there, I've already been able to determine the author's claim or the author's point for writing this. Can anybody tell me, what do you think the author's point is for writing this article? Correct. He states it. He says, in my opinion, Edison's best invention is the light bulb. So we're not going to actually read about why he's the greatest inventor. We're going to read why the light bulb is the greatest invention. Okay, so now let's continue. We can compare inventions in two ways. First, good inventions give people ideas that lead to new inventions. We can tell how good an invention is by looking at how many other inventions it has inspired. Second, good inventions change the way we live. Imagine a world without certain inventions. What would life be like? A truly good invention changes our life for the better. The light bulb has inspired the most new inventions, and it has made the biggest difference in our lives. But don't just take my word for it. Let's learn more about these three inventions, and then you can decide for yourself. So as I continue reading, I can see that the author feels very strongly about the light bulb and the effect that it's had on other invention. Right here in paragraph 3, he says the light bulb has inspired the most new inventions, and it has made the biggest difference in our lives. So I'm going to highlight that because I believe that is the author's opinion. The reason why is because it said it has made the biggest. We can't compare the effect of something to something else. We know it's maybe bigger than others. However, to say that it is the biggest is not necessarily a fact. We can't prove that, right? But what we can prove is that he invented the kinetograph. We can prove that he invented the phonograph, and we can also prove that he invented the light bulb. So these three things, or these three statements, are actually facts because those are things we can prove. Notice those sentences are written completely different. The first sentence that I highlighted in yellow is saying that he inspired the most new inventions. Based on what? How do we prove that? How do we prove that it's made the biggest difference in our lives? Whereas we can go back and prove that he was the one who created the kinetograph. We can prove that he made the phonograph, and we can prove that he made the light bulb. So it's important when you guys are reading this type of text that you are able to prove why certain things happen. Okay? You can prove that this is a fact. You can prove that this is an opinion. And when you look for opinions, again, you want to look for those words that show you how the author feels about the subject. Okay? Now, another opinion I saw here was that he described him as a true visionary, right? And he said he invented so many things that we could argue about what his best invention was. Again, see that word best? Best is also another word that indicates that we're talking about his opinion. And then he calls him a visionary. Now remember, a visionary is a person who has new or unusual ideas about life in the future. We don't know for a fact that he is a visionary. However, he could be compared to a visionary. But again, this is his opinion, right? So again, we want to make sure that when we're making statements or we're reading statements, we understand the difference between what is exactly true, meaning can be proven, and what is your opinion of something. So we're going to stop there for today, because today what we've learned is that there's a difference between a fact and an opinion, and that an author, when writing an argument, can use both in order to prove his or her point or make his or her claim.